Now that we could create a connection between the client, the browser here, and the server, and execute a query over the data in the database, we're going to create sessions on the server side. These sessions are used to check whether or not the user is authenticated or logged in when routing among different pages or partial views of the application. Now I go to the database.php file. Here I create a new function using which to create sessions. Public function set_session. This function is going to take one parameter, which is an array of data, and its initial value is going to be empty here. Inside the body of this function, first of all, I need to check whether or not a session has been created using the set function of PHP, which takes only one parameter. If there is no session started, now a new session must be started using the session_start function of PHP, which takes no parameter. Now here, I need to check whether the data variable or data array is empty or not. If it is not empty, two sessions must be created for the email and username of the user. First, the email session, and its value is going to be the email index of the data. And now the second session is for the username, and its value is going to be the username index of the data array, which comes as a parameter to this function. Now here I'm going to fetch the first row of the data that has been retrieved from the database. And now I'm going to call the newly created function here and pass the row variable as a parameter to this function. I'm going to remove these two lines and save the changes. Now I'm going to create a new array here and call it $response. The first index will be username, and its value is going to be the username which has been retrieved from the database. And the second index will be ID, and its value is going to be the ID which has been retrieved from the database. Else, I set the two indices of the response array to empty. The username is empty, and also the ID is empty. Now I return this array to the caller of this function. I save the changes and go to the server.php. I create a variable here and name it $result and set it to the return value of the authenticate function. Now I'm going to return the JSON encoded form of the result back to the browser. I save the changes and go to the app.js. Here I am going to alert the ID of the user on the browser. I save the changes and go to the browser. I reload the content of the page and enter my valid login credentials. I hit the login button, and here I see the ID of the current user. Now I enter invalid credentials, for example invalid password, and hit the login. I see nothing. I mean, there is no ID since this user is not a valid user.